Mm-mm. All right. Are we on? I think we live. Hello, everyone. We are live.
Hello, hello.
How are you doing? Let us know where you guys are coming in from. And Diamond, I'll let you take it from there. I'm just going to check the live. I see 12 people, so we should be live.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you're not new here, we are in week 3 of our annual credit kickoff. So, this is where we go live every week of January to give you some quick tips of what you can do. And we want you guys to follow along with it on how you can quickly boost your credit score within the next 30 days if you follow these tips. If you can, let us know where you are tuning in from. And also, please share this information with people that you know need to get their credit right, need to get their finances right, need to get their 2026 right. We believe in collaboration here, working together as a family, working together as a unit in a community. So please do share and like this live so that we could get it out into the algorithm. If you guys are not familiar with me, my name is Diamond Chanel. And here we believe in ownership. So Sherry talks a lot, and Sherry is also my mother for people that don't know. But she talks a lot about ownership when it comes to real estate and gold and silver. And I talk a lot about digital assets, such as having ownership over your skills, your talents, the things that God had placed within you. And if you are interested in learning how to leverage the digital space to make income, to have a digital footprint, and for you to create wealth in this space, then you guys can follow me over on my new channel, which is called Thrive Online with Diamond Chanel. And I will leave the link to that in the comment section. Also, we want to just welcome you guys in, let you know that something that we have, if you guys are looking to get your credit right, we have the Elite Credit System, which is a way for you to come in as a community, and you guys can we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then we also do have our DIY bundles for people who are a little bit more self-motivated. So thank you guys so much for joining. And we are going to be talking about the topic of how to boost your credit in 30 days of about 100 points. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Diamond, for that. And just starting off with that, we're also going to drop some links in if you guys are coming in after the live. So don't feel bad if it's the next day. We'll have the links for you. And if you're interested with Diamond, with her channel, she has a video on how to leverage social media to start to make money. So if you're on social media, you want to make money, check out that video and drop in the comments section if you're watching this afterwards, money, and we will post a link for you for that video. And segue into what we're going to focus on, because if you're going with the strategy that you guys want to increase your credit score with by 100 points in 30 days, you're going to take 2 main approaches. So if you don't know, when it comes down to your credit, there's 5 areas that makes up your credit score. So just think about it like when you were in high school, think about your report card or your GPA, right? So certain categories have a bigger actual part of that GPA or that report card because it actually have heavier points that accumulate to that score. So it's the same thing with your credit score. So the largest chunk that make up that credit score is 35% payment history. So how did you pay your bills? Did you pay it on time in the past? Now, the second largest part where payment history is 35%, the second largest part is going to be utilization. That is 30%. Then you have 15% is age of credit. How long you had this open credit line. So a lot of times with that age of credit, it want a credit line that's been open up for 10 years and better. So that's going to be your credit cards, you guys. those longer limits, and maybe even like mortgages and things like that. So that's another category, age of credit. Then you have with mix of credit, that is 10%. And then inquiries. So any new inquiry, it's also 10% of your credit score. So you can see a lot of points lost if you go get a car. Sometimes they'll shotgun your credit, and you might have good credit and you just don't know, out of nowhere your credit score drop, because each inquiry is 3 to 5 points. So that's what makes up your credit score. But if you're trying to boost your credit score by 100 points with that 30 days, two of the main areas you're going to look at: payment history, which is 35%, and utilization, which is 30%. It's only 5% different from payment history. That's 65% of your credit score. So if you really focus on that, no matter if you are under a 700 credit score or above, just keep in mind, like I always tell my people, over that 700, then that age of credit really comes into play. So we don't want to close out any credit cards because we're mad, at our credit. Even if you have a late payment, I see people that get mad at their credit card company and close that down. If you over that 700 credit score, you can see a significant drop in your score if you're closing out revolving accounts, credit card accounts. But if you're looking to get that boost, those are the two areas you're going to really focus on. So payment history, of course, is paying our bills on time. So one of the things that many people is challenged by is negative items, like a charge off or a collection. Those things hold down your credit score, and that could be an issue for you. Now, the way it's holding down your credit score that you might be seeing a lot, that I'm surely seeing a lot, you'll have these companies now hitting you with a late payment every single month. You'll see it as a CO or a C. Now, they got wise. Not all the time that can happen, but many a times, if you have a number of accounts, you'll see one of them doing that. The reason why they're doing that, because if primarily we looking at FICO scores, once you get a negative item to hit your credit report, it'll initially drop your score. And the higher the credit score, the bigger the drop you'll see with that negative item. If you already have a lower credit score, like a 5 or 600, you might not see a huge drop as somebody with that 700 and above credit score. It's going to initially drop your score for the next 90 days. Then you're going to see your score starting to go back up, as long as nothing negative is hitting you again. These companies figured that out. So what they're doing is hitting you. You'll see that every month. And some of you guys is very frustrating because they might miss a month of dinging you, or that account out of nowhere just start hitting you again. And you're like, what is going on here? That is designed to hold down your credit score. So if you don't deal with that, to stop them from doing that by disputing, your score would never come up. Now, if you got that going on with a collection, that right there is a violation of the FCRA, because with the collection, the account is already in collections. It's past charged off. There's not a monthly payment being expected because it's a collection company. You didn't even do business with that collection company. So with that, it should not be reporting a late payment every month. It's already in collections. So that you want to aim at to stop that. So you want to do the same thing with your charge-offs, because it's really affecting your on-time payment history. Now, some of you guys might have late payments. Once that late payment hits you, you bring that account up to date, you'll see in 90 days your scores start to go up. But if you got an open active account, it's going to be the same principle as that charge off or collection hitting you late every month. If you got a credit card and it's behind, or a student loan and it's behind, you want to start to get it on time so your score can go up. Many people get disappointed, especially like say with student loans, when some people got late payments, or even with a credit card that hits you with a late payment. Don't let the whole account go, because think about it, on time payments on that account, you have a number of them previously of on time payments. Sometimes trying to remove that whole account might decrease your credit score because it's actually majority positive. So, what you want to aim at is getting it on time and paying it, and then dispute the late payment. The quicker you can get it on time, the better. Because just think about it in your mind. If somebody has been late for 120 days, this account, it's less likely that's an accident. But a 30-day, that's more likely that was a report in error. So that's why you want to get it back on time. Sometimes financial windfalls happen and you just don't have it. So if you have to strategize, what if I can't pay everything, what to hold on to, you want to hold on to your oldest account, your oldest credit card account, if all possible. But one thing you got to keep in mind, and this is especially at this time, financial problems is out in the banking system. If you miss one late payment, your credit card companies do check your credit report. That's why sometimes you'll see a random hard inquiry from your current credit card company, because if they see it's a late payment and they check, they might close down your current credit card account. And you might have never been late, but you can see them either cut credit lines or just altogether close that account. So just keep that in mind. The second part is utilization. Utilization is that 30% of your credit score, and it fluctuates depending on how you're using that credit card and how you're paying it off every month. So utilization is actually the fastest way to increase your credit score, but it's also the fastest way to tank your credit score. So you want to be very mindful of your utilization and the dates that you're paying it. Many people will pay their credit cards, but because of their pay period, they might not can pay it off in the proper window of time. So your due date, if it's the 5th of every month, that date with 4 days after, the 4 days after is going to generally be the report date. That's when that credit card company is going to report that balance to the credit bureaus. So if you miss that window of time of paying that down and you're paying it after, you'll find your credit stuck, because once they report that for the next 30 days, it's going to be locked in. So you want to make sure you're aiming towards that, because you can see 100 points increase just by paying down your credit card. You want to aim at credit cards that's close to being maxed out. You're really losing a lot of points if that card gets about 60%, even an individual card. Your rest of your cards could be open, but one particular card could be causing you a problem. So you want to take the time and look at your credit card accounts, because sometimes life is just happening and you're not really cognizant on what's going on, what's your balance on your credit card. But make sure you take an account. If you have an open larger credit line and you must use your credit card, use that one. Don't try to use the smaller cards that you have and accidentally come close to maxing that card out. Now, if your card is in maxed out status, you already know that is a major effect on your credit score, bringing your score down. So you want to pay that down. Now, some strategies with that, with people struggling with utilization, is to look for a loan if you can to consolidate it. And so I'm going to drop a video for you guys probably on Wednesday, because if you can consolidate and get a loan, but you want to look for soft pull pre-approval, at least to give you an idea if you could qualify for that loan, then you might be better off by getting a loan and paying off that particular credit card or all your credit cards. So it can help you with that utilization. The other way, like with Diamond, using social media to make money. So checking out her video. Maybe if you're on social media, you can do that at home and leverage. That might generate you the additional income to pay off some of this debt. And you're in tax season, maybe consider taking your tax return and aiming it at your highest interest credit card or that maxed out credit card. Those can be an option. Now, if you're a person who unfortunately let a lot of credit cards go, or if you had that late payment scenario and your credit cards start to shut down on you, we need with you to replace that credit line. So you need that utilization, because just like your report card, when you were in high school, imagine if you got a 0 in math. It doesn't matter how good the rest of your grades are, because math is a big part of your GPA. You're going to see your score drop significantly. So if you're a person without a credit card, you got a big goose egg in a big part of your score. So you want to see if you can get that credit card there. So that's where I talk about people under that 700 credit score. If nothing is hitting you late every month, adding a line of credit, you can get yourself up to that 700 credit score. But you want to stop when you get to 700, because the same principle, adding on more credit beyond that, you can see your score dip because age of credit is 15%. So keep that in mind. Now, ways that you can get these companies to look for you. I dropped a video when Diamond, I'm going to have Diamond to drop the link now. You want to try to get those offers in the mail, and you can use a strategy on doing that without you getting a bunch of hard inquiries. The reason why that's important, you don't want to randomly just go in looking for lines of credit, because those new inquiries can bring down your credit score. And also, a lot of credit card companies could be inquiry sensitive. So you have cards like Chase, they're very inquiry sensitive. And with their 524 rule, mean they don't want you to have no more new credit card accounts, like 5 within 24 years, or they don't care how good your credit score is. They'll deny you for credit. So you want to look at where you at with your credit in those challenges. If you're looking to get that 100 points, those little 2 areas is where you gonna really focus your attention. Now, some of you guys, if you had the scenario like I mentioned, you went looking for a car, you did not have your own loan going to that dealership. I have seen people with one credit bureau, 23 hard inquiries from that. And you check the other credit bureaus, they might have 23, 24. So I have seen someone with over 100 hard inquiries. all together looking for a car, and they did not know that they were shotgunning their credit. So that could be one of your issues also. If you're saying, hey, I pay my bills on time, my utilization is not bad, I don't quite get what's going on, that could be your problem if you already have that. Now, with hard inquiries, they're easier to remove because they're supposed to have something called permissible purpose. Now, we do have a free hard inquiry removal package, and Diamond's going to drop that link that you can download. You can use that because permissible purpose, they have to have your consent. And so you want to make sure that you're getting at those hard inquiries. And if you're already in the elite credit system, make sure you join the meeting, and then I can help you navigate that. But the hard inquiries is something a little bit easier to move, but you can get some points quickly if that's your issue. That and collections are really easy to target. Sometimes charge off can be a little more challenging. Now, with charge offs, like I always tell you guys, you want to dispute this negative item because everything, depending on how many counts you got, it's not going to be always linear. Where, oh, all three bureaus just dropped it. You might get a negative item off of this one, then it's still on the other two, and then you have to continue to dispute to get it off. But it doesn't mean that you stop your motion. Then you want to leverage the best credit score, because if you need to get lines of credit, then you want to focus on banks that exclusively pull from that credit bureau. So for instance, if you got your Equifax claimed off, your best option would not be going to a place like Capital One that pull all three. You want to aim at banks like Truist that only pull from Equifax. In your case, especially as you start disputing and things come off, you want to aim at your highest score. So you want to also look for soft pull pre-approval to help you, those cards that can help you with that 30%. So if you're looking to get those 100 points, make sure, as we said at the beginning of this, you look at your credit scores. You have to know. It's like losing weight. You don't know if you're making progress. You don't know what your weight is. You don't know whether you're improving or you're going up in weight. So you want to know your current credit scores, and then you want to plan your mode of attack. It's very different for somebody who's over that 700 credit score, trying to get their score up, than somebody who's under that 700 credit score. And some things is personalized to you. If you got a bankruptcy, it's something that's totally different, especially if you got an active bankruptcy, active Chapter 13, and you're still in that bankruptcy. So you may have to take a different approach, but you always, even in those scenarios, focusing on those two areas: payment history, utilization. That's going to be the two areas you want to focus to aim at getting that 100 points in that 30 days. So Diamond, I'm going to have, if you guys have questions that I can help you, or if it's something about what I just talked about, that strategy, you guys don't understand, if you can drop your questions, then I can address them.
Yes, so I want to read off this question that says, what about when you're trying to gain a few extra points during a mortgage process and you can't get new credit?
If you're married and your spouse has decent utilization, age of credit, you can do an authorized user account or you guys can support each other if you both have open credit lines. That's a good way you can increase your credit score. And I would aim for any disputing. If it's negatives, there to go for that, like hard inquiries, that might not be something that's keeping you from getting qualified for that mortgage, but that can get you a couple of points. So, and always paying down any existing credit cards, that'll also increase your credit score and help you actually qualify for that mortgage better too. For a bigger home, actually, depending on how much credit card debt.
Christy also asks, do collections actually fall off after 7 years?
They should, if they don't re-age it. So you do see these companies do re-age that. So the last date of payment that you made to a company, that should be the clock to start ticking. So if that charge off is there, you want to look at the last payment date you made on there, and sometimes it converts to a collection. So you want to make sure, because sometimes they get slick and re-age that debt. So that's what you want to look at. And they do that a lot of times. And what I just mentioned, hitting you with that late payment, they do it even more, sometimes approaching that 7-year mark, to because they know their time is running out to get you to pay that.
We had another question from James, who asks, you are right. My problem is that I have 3 collections, but they are supposed to fall off by next year, January. Since I waited this long, should I just let them fall off or dispute them? Everything
I
else.
always get them off. I will always, because a year in your life, and that's another. I'm glad that you brought that up, James. One thing about waiting, you guys, I'm going to tell you, even like with YouTube, everything, AI is really taking off. And I see this with people a lot of times. It's nothing wrong if you don't have the focus. Just like this is why we're doing these lives, to motivate people who are focusing on their credit. But I will tell you, pretty soon, if you're not careful, a lot of stuff won't work, because AI is getting to a point where you might not can shake a lot of stuff if you don't get going now, if you're missing that window of time. Just like how we see changes when it came for that student loan forgiveness, now that's gone. So if people didn't take advantage of that, those who had those opportunities, you missed a window of opportunity. Business credit, the same thing. When people was telling you, sometimes, as Marvin Gaye said, no more standing on the wall. You really need to get on the floor. And so we see this a lot of times. There's been so many things down the years through credit. One primary thing that I was thinking about before this live, like back before 2015, if your credit cards was maxed out, the move was you can get some of those merchandise cards. Like it'd be companies that would just report credit lines for you, $12,000. That would balance out that maxed out credit card. And it'll be cheaper to get one of those merchandise lines. Like it'll be those jewelry clubs and stuff like that. You can balance out and get rid, without paying out of pocket, get rid of that high utilization. But that don't work no more. They went in the system and they changed that up. So if you don't jump on your opportunities, sometimes when the window is presenting itself, if you don't get it while it's getting, sometimes people won't miss out. So that's one thing, the waiting part. You just don't know what's going to happen, so it's always best not to wait. If you can, put some emotion in action, that's the stand I always take.
So someone asked, I lost 54 points for missing 1 month. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it can happen if you had a higher credit score, like I mentioned, like 700s, yeah, and above. You're going to see a bigger hit for a negative item. It's not fair. It sucks, but yeah, it can happen. You just give it time. It should go back up. I will pay them as quick as possible to get that current, and then go back and dispute it.
Thank you, Miss Murphy, for the
Oh,
super
thank
chat. Thank you so
you.
much.
And you always support the live. Thank you, Miss Murphy. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
And I wanted to address Queen. She said that I can't ask you any questions because this will not allow me to finish because of the limits. Because you limit my words. If
Maybe they do in the chat.
if you would like to, or if anybody would like to come up and ask their questions, I'll leave the link in the StreamYard if you guys have a question.
Yeah, if anybody want to come up and ask their questions, so we'll leave that link for you.
Yeah, so the StreamYard link is going to make you create an account. So this might take a little bit of a process. And you must have your camera on, and we need to vet you out before you come up here. But
Yeah,
if
it's a
you
lot of
guys are,
weirdos out here.
yeah, so if you guys are interested in coming
A lot
up,
of
you
weirdos.
can come up and talk to us. We'll leave that here in the comment section for you all. I wanted to answer this question that said, "I need credit help overall. Period. Back taxes and the whole nine. What do you suggest?"
With back taxes, it shouldn't be reporting on your credit report. I believe back taxes, um, it I don't believe they should unless it's connected to student loans. But if you need the help, if I need more to address a particular thing that you have going on, because just like I broke down, it could be a couple of areas, but unless I'm able to see it off bat, the way the question is laid out, it's kind of blind to me. I need to know. I don't even know your credit score. So sometimes even if I know somebody's current credit score, I can kind of determine somewhere where the problem would be, but I would need more information in order to answer your question if you can.
And someone asks, "I had a bankruptcy 7 years ago. When should I expect this to fall off my credit report?"
It depends if it's a chapter 7 or a 13. 7 will stay on for 10 years. 13, if it's been discharged, it's going to drop off in like 7 years. And also those accounts attached to that chapter 7, it can fall off in 7 years, but the bankruptcy in the public information area, if it's a chapter 7, it stays on for 10 years. So you might want to start disputing that if you don't want to be trapped into that.
Someone asks, "If I make someone with bad credit an authorized user to my credit card, does it adversely affect my credit score?"
No, you just make sure if you add them on, you hold on to the card. One thing you would have to do is just activate it, turn it on for it to report. And if your credit card company, they should be asking you for that person social security number so it can report, and you can use your current address for that person. But definitely turn it on. It should not affect you negatively, long as you don't give them that card so they can use it. You're just helping them out. So that is a way that you can do it.
And then Christina said, "I have one closed charge off and one collection remaining accounts per the CRA. Now that I'm disputing, two hurting me bad are Navy Federal and the Apple GS. How to delete them? They seem tough."
You want to dispute them. I would try to move old addresses, any incorrect names. And that's how I would actually address that. But with Navy Federal, I would pay them. I tell people a lot, that's not a relationship I would want to burn. And one thing about Navy Federal, they won't let you back in unless you pay them. They're pretty dogmatic about that. But that's how you can address that, is disputing those items. If I did know more, have a conversation, then I can get more details. If it's other avenues, if I can hear, what was the situation with the account, on how to line that up. But yeah, Navy Federal, I would just keep that in mind. They do work with their customers. Even if you have lower credit scores, they can give you larger credit card limits. But I do know a lot of people get in trouble with that. And, you know, uh, they might not want to pay off that, but you just got to internalize, do you want that relationship? So that's what I always say.
There was a few people asking, how do they get personalized help from you? Can you explain the elite credit system a little bit? And I'm going to put the link in the comment section.
So with the elite credit system, we have the AI software. What happens with the AI software? It actually brings in your credit reports. It's going to bring it in within like 2 minutes initially. And what it'll do is it will sort for you or allow you to sort all your negative accounts. So it can generate your disputes for you. You just select the dispute by clicking it, or it'll just actually populate its own by reading all of your credit scores. So it's going to read all three across the board and generate you a dispute. Now, along with the elite credit system, we do the coaching on every Saturday. So, what I really prefer people to come in if you are part of the elite credit system, I can actually see what you got going on with your credit. And then, if I can get some details, then it might be some other avenues to address your negative items and we get started with your disputes. Now, one of the things, like I said in here, if you're trying to increase your credit score, if you don't have any credit lines, we want to try to improve that utilization. So it allows me to look at your credit scores, especially if you're under that 700 credit score, and let's try to select you, customize options for you to go with your strongest credit score to add on some credit lines. All right. Now, sometimes with that, some of you guys, it was some people that actually got credit lines immediately, but we want to gauge it. So if you get approved for the line of credit that is selected for you, but it's going to be soft pull pre approvals, then you want to stop, because after the dispute, you might remove that negative item and you can be at a higher tier card. So we don't want to get a bunch of low tier or subprime credit cards. You want to try to address going up the line. So it's a lady, I don't want to say her name, but a female, she's in the group. It's a lot of people that just really stay with it, just with the information we discuss on Saturday. She's been up in the 700s. But one of the things today we went over it, and she was like, let me check in on my stuff. I just sit here for the information. She have gotten premium credit cards, but it's time for her to go to Chase now. So that's a relationship that she's going to go with. So we're just going to deal because, you know, over the time improving her credit score, she got a couple of hard inquiries that she's just going to clean up just before we go to Chase, just exclusively on that Experian to get some of that. And that's really where she needs to go. She already have her Navy Fed, so we don't want to just slap on something that's, where she's at a higher echelon now after going through that credit repair process. So it's the same thing with you. You don't want to have a ton of like those subprime high annual fee credit cards. You might start with one, but then you want to strategize going up to higher tier credit cards. So hopefully that's helpful. That's the good part with the elite credit system. It's more customized to what your personal needs is. It's not a one size fit all, because your life ain't a one size fit all. You're very a different individual with a different goal versus somebody else. So that's part of too One other thing is one of the people, I believe I talked about it in our group. This person starting off on their credit repair journey, but they needed a car. So to make and find soft pull pre-approvals for a car loan because they just really couldn't wait, so they were able to get approved for a car loan where they were by looking at their strongest credit score. And they had started some disputes and some things came off. So was able to leverage that. So just keep that in mind. It's about strategy when you're going through the credit repair process. I know a lot of people say, hey, I want to clean off everything. But if you can go on and get what you need, because some things you just can't wait. I got to get an apartment. I have to move. I have to do this. Then let's figure out the best strategy of getting that done than just waiting around you being in lack without. So that's part of the elite credit system.
I wanted to shout out the super chat that we had. Thank you so much. You said, thank you for addressing my question. I brought your DIY package a few years ago. Can it still be used today?
Thank you, number one, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And yes, you can still use that today. Anybody that bought those letters, you can still use those letters. So a lot of times with the letters, if people already are a little advanced themselves, then they don't really need the extra some people already know, hey, I already know I cleaned up, because we have a lot of people clean up their credit, they're done, but something might happen later on. And sometimes people will come back, hey, I got this issue going on. So yes, you can still use those letters. So everybody that got them, they're still good. So yes, you can still use them today.
Yes. Someone asked, do you help with home ownership?
In what manner are you trying to get a mortgage with your credit? One of the things you want to, if you looking for a mortgage and trying to increase your credit score, yes, starting with your credit is the basis, but also you want to consider the timeline. When are you going to go and purchase this home? Because credit scores dictate your interest rates, which is important because then that can boil down to the affordability. So yes, if you need help with that, but just home ownership, you just got to figure out what type of property, what area that you're looking to buy, what's the market, what does it dictate, the going market rate. That can be very different, multifamily, single family, and what your income is. Always remember, everybody, even if you go on FHA, there's money required to be put down. So depending on the price point of the home, 3.5% if you go on FHA, but if you're a veteran, VA, 0%. Then there's USDA loans. There's different kinds of loan, but your interest rate is dictated by your credit score. So yes, if you need help with that, yeah, that would be part of it.
TT had a couple of questions. I'm gonna just roll them into one. She was basically asking, how does she get started, or where's the first place she starts for her credit journey with the goal of purchasing a home? And she already has another home, so she's purchasing a second home, I assume, and in Texas. Where does she start on that journey?
But she's saying a quadruplex, and I believe that's like a 4-family. You're gonna look, if you already have a home, number one, if you're looking for an investment property, I would talk to other investors in the area, number one, to find out what is the landlord tenant laws. That is very important. You always want to know what's your exit strategy, especially if it's an investment property. So you would want to look at that. Then you want to talk to a mortgage company. I would request a broker, and I will talk to a broker because you already own a home. Banks are not that enthusiastic to help you become an investor, unfortunately. That's why sometimes the best move is when you buy your initial home for it to be a multifamily. So you might want to find out, if you already own a home, you might not can get that little FHA deal with 3.5% down. You might have to go with a conventional loan where they want 20% down. So that can make your numbers different, and your down payment, and sometimes how much they want you to have of that mortgage payment, um, after the closing costs. So what I would first do is talk to somebody, look at what area you want to buy, what's your price point, and I would talk to a mortgage broker to find out what my options is. Because first time home buyers is a little bit different. You if you're going with that multifamily to get the benefit of the 3.5% down. But if you're a veteran, you might, you can get that 0% down. But um, I would talk to a mortgage broker to understand what my credit score, because being an investor is totally different. So if you coming in as an investor, and maybe if you got equity already in your home, maybe you want to take a home equity line of credit in the home that you already own, and maybe that's how you want to get your down payment. But that's where I would start, and also find out what the going rental rates is. So you want to find out what's a good price point to buy, because something is for sale don't mean you need to buy it. With investment property, you want to kind of buy into the equity. So it's about your tolerance too. So if you're buying something, it's an investment, location, you got to find out how many units is in there, what's the going rent. Because if it's a fourplex and it's all one bedrooms, that might not be the thing you looking at. One bedroom, one bath. That might not be what you want for your return on your, the higher rental rates. So it's a lot. That's where I would start. I'll talk to, how can I get out of there? How, if I got to put somebody out, how I can get out of there? What's the price of a fourplex? What's the going market rent? And then what's your finance option, already being a homeowner? So hopefully I gave some information. I ain't, murk up anything, but yeah, that's what you, and where you want location. Depending on the location, it can, you might can get a cheaper property, but the maintenance and the type of tenants that's going to be attracted, you might better price that out, for all that, because it might take more management, because it is in maybe not in the best area. So I'll leave it like that. So those are some things to consider.
Yeah, that was good advice. I wanted to say thank you, Dawn, for the
Thank you,
super chat.
Dawn.
And also we had a question that said, at a 701 on TransUnion, 681 Equifax, 668 Experian, all cards are paid down. My oldest average account is 4.5 years. What should be done next to raise my score?
660. Some for that experience score is something going on there. How many hard inquiries you got there? Because that's a little something, either some utilization, there's something there going on, because the score should be a little higher. So either utilization, or I'll look at my hard inquiries. How many hard inquiries you got going on? So I'll attack the hard inquiries. I'll look at something, because something with experience, it shouldn't be that off. Like with your experience score being that low, something, a late payment, not, maybe not too long ago, it's something there. If you're saying all your cards paid down, what is paid down? Are they under 30% overall, or is it a particular card that you're going over the utilization, because your score should be higher. Your score should be higher. So it's something there. I'll look there, and you could be adding on to an authorized user as long as their utilization is a little lower, and that can add on time payments. And I would ask my current credit card companies to see if I can get a increase in that credit line. I'll aim for the ones that I can do a soft pull for increase. But yeah, it's something there. So that's my, because your score should be a little higher if that's just from what I'm seeing there. But that's 660, that's way off. It's something on there. It's something going on there. That's way off from 701 to 6. Yeah, that's too off. So yeah, I would check that. Go there and go through that, because it's something negative going on Experian that's not reporting to the rest. It could be some more inquiries. That's something that go from place to place, but it's something going on there on that Experian one. So I'll check that out.
Christy asks, should I pay a settlement for a collection in order to get more points?
No. If you're in the process of a mortgage and you got to do what you got to do to close, then you might not have any other option. But if you pay it, and then you're copping to it. Third parties buy that, they buy that actually a lot of times from the original creditor, and they're a little weaker to dispute. But if you're going for a mortgage, you're in the process, you might not have a lot of time if you got to close. So but if you talk to them over the phone and they record that, then that's like a done deal. If I settle, you better make sure you get that they're going to delete it in writing beforehand before you pay it. If not, you stuck with it. So that's hopefully that can answer your question. But sometimes with a mortgage, if you just don't have any options in order to close, it is what it is. That happened to me with my first property. It is one thing, y'all, too, just to know, when you go for mortgages, something called a trigger list. So this is why all those collections start popping up. The credit bureaus are not your friend. They'll send out a list notifying collection companies, this person's trying to get a home, hurry up. So that's something they pay for. That's why all those collections start popping up out the blue. They know that, so they want to get you to rush and pay them. And it'll be stuff that ain't even owed. That's what they did to me. It was something I ain't even owe, but because I couldn't close, I had to go on and pay it. But that was like that was when I was 21, when I bought my first home. Yeah, they just popped some stuff out of the blue. So I'm just saying all that to say, sometimes you like, I'm 3 days from closing. I got to do what I got to do. But if you can deal with it, I prefer to deal with it. I mean, like disputing it.
So Ricky asked, he said, I own my own home outright. I'm 61 and on disability, and I need to have some remodeling to do so I won't have to go to a nursing home. My scores are around 670. Is there any hope for me, like a USDA or something?
What's your, so you currently don't have it. You can use something, it's called AVEN, ABEN. The AVEN card, they can do a home equity line of credit, but it's like on a credit card up to 250,000. I think it might be up to 500. It's 250,000. That can be an option. USDA, I don't believe they let you refinance in a USDA loan, but I will check, because you own the home with my current bank, to see about a HELOC loan, home equity line of credit. With a 670 credit score, that's pretty strong enough to get that. So I will first check with my current banks, which I got a relationship with, and tell them that you're looking for a home equity line of credit. Usually, if your credit unions is going to be probably the ones that can work with you, but if you have other banking relationships like Navy Federal is one. Other ones like if you got Wells Fargo and places like that, you can talk to them about, because your home is paid off. The only thing is the home is collateral. So that's what you just want to, you know what I'm saying, be wary. But if it's between you going into a nursing home, that can also, if you're not structured right with your estate planning, that can also, depending on your state, they have some look backs, like a 5-year look back. Like Florida got a terrible look back. So you might have to get a trust, irrevocable trust. That's usually the strongest protection, or a revocable trust, because if not, they can go after the home like that if you get put in a nursing home. So I will look for that. So yeah, you definitely don't want that option. And find out with your state, because I used to sell insurance. So um, find out what your state. You can Google it. What is the look back? Okay, you want to look at that, because if you can't get a trust to set your home up in a trust, so the unfortunately, like the nursing homes will come and take people property or put a lien. So hopefully that answered the question. I gave some information, but yeah, look at your look back, everyone, and think about estate planning.
We have another question that says, if a line of credit closes unpaid, but it isn't sold to a collection company, can it be disputed?
Yes, you can dispute it. Yeah, you can dispute it. I know it's probably hurting your utilization right now. So you can dispute it, or if it's still with the company, the collection, I mean the company that charged off, you might can settle it if you, but I will make sure when I talk to them, like I said with the other young lady, I'll get it in writing before I pay anything. Those lines are recorded. I would prefer to settle with the company I'm charged off with than a collection company. I'm not settling nothing with them unless I got to. Like I said, if from closing. But when you talk to them, it's a recorded line. Tell them, to my understanding, keep saying that. To my understanding, this is paid, because they're recording it for a reason. If they got to take you to court, to my understanding and to my knowledge, this is paid. But I got to go check my records. What can I do to settle the situation if need be? And just say, and okay, can you send that to me in writing? So via email or something, just get something in writing. So, but if not, you can still dispute it. That's also an option. Just 1-2 point for everybody. Everything got to be with disputing. If it's not 100% accurate and complete, then they can't report it. So you can look and find things that's not accurate and dispute that. And it always generally is. And with the elite credit system, that's part of it, and find the inconsistencies. And so it pulls it up, and that's how it makes the dispute.
And we have another question that says, if you're on someone else's credit card and they take you off, will that hurt your credit?
It depends what your current utilization is. So say if they take you off and yours is pretty bad or high, yeah, it could. And also, let's say for instance, the payment history most of the time is going to stay there, but it could help if their utilization is really bad. So if that person credit card utilization is bad, then it actually could help you by coming off. Sometimes you need to. So it depends. So hopefully that answered. If theirs is really bad and that's why you coming off, then that can help. If they had a late payment, then you might want to come off and then turn around and dispute that, because it's probably a reason why you want to come off.
As far as I can see, I believe that was the last question. If you guys have any last minute questions, please do put them in the chat.
And we will be leaving those links. Hopefully, this is helpful. And we'll be discussing even next week options because a lot of people are struggling with utilization, talking about loans and ways around that. I will have that video because that's a big question for people on how to strategize with that. And so, even with the elite credit system, Smart Credit has something called Score Boost. It'll tell you the dates to pay off your credit cards, and then it'll tell you by how many points as soon as it report that you should see in the increase. And sometimes doing that, like taking that strategy, if you with your credit cards, then after that report, you want to go for some of those soft pull pre-approval, looking for a loan if that's what you want to do to deal with that utilization. So that's one of the strategies. So we'll talk about that also next week if that's what you're battling with. Well, we thank you guys for coming out. If you have questions even after the live, make sure you drop it here, and we'll also have those links for you, and I'll try my best to respond to all you guys questions ASAP. But generally on Sunday I take a day off. I do review the comments because I know it's right after with this, but we always try to address your questions even after the live.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Again, the replay will be available. All the links that we shared will be in the description box below, and we will be back next week, same time, which is 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And all that are interested in the elite credit system, but you're not sure if you want to make the leap yet, please do go to theelitecredit.com and you can sign up for a free account where you can kind of browse around a little bit. And then you would be added into our database so that we could keep communication with you. And if you have any additional questions, we can make sure that we answer you. So there is one-on-one available, and we can talk more about that pricing for elite members. Go ahead, sign up for the elite credit system, and we'll get that information to you.
And thank you. You guys be safe for the rest of the week, and we'll see you next weekend. Yes. Be blessed. All right. Bye-bye.